Hey guys, another video for our Myths About Japan playlist. Our least popular videos. We make lots of unpopular videos, but the myth busting video is the most unpopular by far. Some people don't want to hear it. This one's been triggered by something that's been in the news recently, and I'll get to it at the end because I have to set the scene first. So we've been making myth busting videos for maybe 14 years. One of the earliest ones we did was, there was a story about some university students in Tokyo that had been injecting saline into their foreheads in the shape of a donut, right? So they put saline in their forehead in the shape of a donut, so they have this donut shape there, right? It's a very distinct donut shape. And there was just a group of some young, funny people doing it, you know? But it got picked up and it spread around the world that this is a trend. This is a trend that's happening in Japan at the moment. Young people are injecting themselves with saline to put donut shapes on their foreheads, right? And there's probably a handful of people that actually done it. It wasn't a trend. A trend is something that, you know, a good percentage of the population is doing, isn't it? You know, that's a trend. But putting donuts on your foreheads, and it's sort of the underlying point of this video is that seems to be a common format, that what they do with these myth videos is or myth stories, is they get a story that's true, but it's actually a story that's quite rare or quite individual or quite specific, and then they report it like it's common, like it happens all the time. So the other common one that we've talked about before was the moving trees one. And that was years ago in a park in Tokyo. They were putting a path through, and there was a really special old tree there. So they actually cut a big ball underneath it and picked it up and moved it and put it somewhere else, because it was a really special tree and it was in a park in Tokyo. And so that's what they did. And then that got picked up, and then it was reported that in Japan, when roads are being built, if there's a tree in the way, they relocate it. They don't cut it down, they relocate it, right? So again, that was a one-off special case, and then they report it like it's the standard, it's what we do all the time, you know? And then it's surefire clickbait, you know? If they report a story like that, like it's mainstream, everybody loves it, right? Which is why these videos are unpopular. People love that myth stuff. And when they post that stuff, it gets really popular. It's on social media or YouTube, or mainstream media pick up on these, and you'll have news, you know, just before we go, you know, like in England or America or Australia or somewhere, at the end of the news thing, that they finished all the serious news, and right at the end, maybe after the weather, they say, just before we go, a quick story from Japan. You know, here's you know, trees in Japan getting moved if they're building a road, or oh yeah, when I saw it last couple of weeks, Batwing trucks. So you do see them in Japan. They have these trucks that the sides open up and go up like this, so they can unload them with a forklift easily. And you see them, you know, they do exist. But it was written up that in Japan, the trucks, and it's all about the wording, isn't it? You know, in Japan, when they're building a road, if there's a tree in the way, they move the tree. And the way that sounds is as if that's always the case, right? In Japan, the trucks have batwing sides that open up that allow access to forklifts. And it makes it sound like all the trucks have that, which of course they don't. You know, the donut forehead thing, they make it sound like it's a trend, or they use the word trend. It's a trend in Japan. It's just a couple of funny people doing it, you know. Oh, heated footpaths, that's the other one. And I see these all the time, because what happens is there's such surefire clickbait that mainstream media pick up on them, and then anybody that wants to get clicks on their Facebook page or whatever they're trying to do, they repeat these things, you know. And so there are some places in Japan where they've got heated footpaths. They run hot water through the concrete of the footpath, and that hits the footpath so that when it snows, the snow melts on the footpath and that people can walk without slipping over. But I've never seen one, right? I've spent a lot of time in Nagano, and a lot of time in Gifu, and a lot of time in Mie, and lots of places in central Japan, in the Japanese Alps. Never seen a heated footpath. So they do exist, but the way that story was written, in Japan, the footpaths have heated pipes running through them so that the snow melts in winter. And it makes it sound like all the footpaths are like that. I've never seen one, right? All these things, the truck thing I've seen, but haven't seen any of these other things. What was the other one? Oh, the other one they love. See this one a lot. Bullet train ran 30 seconds late, and you do get variations on these, so the time will change, like all these things. The facts or the story will actually change a little bit depending on who's writing it at that particular day. But this one is, you know, the bullet train, if it was 30 seconds late, so that the driver apologised to all the passengers, and the railway company refunded everybody's tickets, right? Which is just BS. You know, again, based on fact that usually in Japan the trains are very punctual, and it is true, very, very punctual, you know. However, of course they run late. And the truth is, now and again, they will apologise. Often, to be honest, often what it is, they'll say there was an accident. Often what it is, it was a suicide. Sometimes it is just an innocent accident, something's blown onto the track or something like that, but quite often it's a suicide. Then they don't say it's a suicide. So you'll be at the station and you get an announcement, you know, our apologies, the train will be 15 minutes late, you know, our apologies, it'll arrive soon. So if there's going to be a delay like that, you know, 5 minutes or you know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, they'll make an announcement. But a 30-second delay, no. Total BS. No way in the world. And then all the customers had their tickets refunded. BS. You know, sources for these things are never cited, right? So what triggered this video? That's all the examples. That's some examples. We've got loads of them on the myths playlist. It's endless. It never ends, you know. I sort of get sick of sort of seeing them. You might feel the frustration because it's just such obvious BS, and yet people lap it up. You know, you see this BS and it's had 1 million views, and it's like, people are just lapping it up. And then you read the comment section and you always get the same stuff. Oh, Japan's amazing. There's no country like Japan. What an amazing place. Which, you know, I'd agree with them on a lot of that stuff, but not based on this BS. You know, there's a lot of amazing things about Japan that are incredible, but not this BS. None of this. There's that deception. There's something annoying about the deception. You know, not reporting the reality, not fact checking, and even like when I actually look up for this next part, I wanted to look up who'd reported it. I found the Guardian newspaper in England and BBC and all these mainstream media outlets around the world had reported on these things, and no one does any fact checking. You know, they don't care. They just want views. They want people to watch and go, oh, isn't that amazing? Isn't Japan amazing? They don't fact check. I guess anybody who does fact check doesn't post this rubbish, right? But anyway, what triggered this video is a few weeks ago, there was a sinkhole in, actually I don't know what order I should tell you this. I'll tell you the other one. There's a myth that's been going on for a long time. A couple of years ago, where was it? Fukuoka maybe? A few years ago in Japan, in a big city, in an intersection, there was a sinkhole, and the road sort of fell into the hole, right? And depending on which report you read, they have before and after shots that, if I remember, I'll be showing you right now. And depending on which report you look at, it'll say 3 days later, you know, here was the hole, this big hole appeared. 3 days later, here it was repaired. And then they'll report it that in Japan, when there's a problem in the road, they fix it within 3 days, or, you know, whatever bullshit that they're attaching to the story. But depending on which report you read, it was 3 days or it was 7 days or whatever it was. So, okay, that's great. And we've been watching that story. And because what happens is these stories go round and round, like that tree one, moving the trees for roads. That's been going on for, I don't know, 10 years, more, I don't know. Just on and on, it just keeps coming around. And all these people that want clicks on their social media just keep reposting it, it just keeps coming around. And that one with fixing the road one, that comes round and round, and all the comments are the same. Isn't Japan an amazing place? What an amazing place. If that was our country, that'd take months, right? All very good, and that was actually a true story. They did fix that road rather quickly. Don't know what the truth was, whether it was 3 days or 7 days. But of course, yeah, they fixed it. However, what's made this sort of poignant, is that the word, is that a few weeks ago, there was a sinkhole, and a truck fell into it. The cabin of a truck fell into this sinkhole, right? And there was a 74-year-old man driving the truck. And we kept hearing about it. When the first day it happened, there was a big report on the TV, and you know, this sinkhole and this truck's fallen in, there's a man in there in the truck, and 74-year-old man, and they're trying to get him out. And then we kept seeing this story, and we kept seeing it being reported, and all these guys standing around, Dorshio, you know, what should we do, what should we do? And they had machines there and things. And then, they're trying to rescue him, but they had to stop because they were worried about further cave-ins. And it went on, and it sort of, after a couple of weeks, it was like 10 days or 12 days or something, they decided, or they found what they thought was part of his cabin had actually gone into a hole and into the sewer and been washed through the sewer. And so they decided that he must be in the sewer too. That's the last we heard of it. So the news organisations kept reporting it, and then as it's sort of, they weren't recovering this guy and they weren't getting anywhere, and every time they reported it's the same damn hole, and they're sort of working around the edges of it, and we can't do anything because it's too dangerous. So 10, 12, 2 weeks, and they just sort of slowly, the news people stopped reporting it. And we never heard what the result is. Last we heard, they'd found some of his cab in the sewer system. They assumed he was in there too. That was the last they heard of it. So, don't know if they found him. Couldn't find any reports for it. It just sort of, they stopped talking about it. And that's what happens with the Japanese news media, is they love all those myth stories. They love all that nonsense. They don't tend to peddle these myths. They peddle their own myths. But they love all the feel-good stories, and anything that makes people feel bad, they tend to let it go. And so, or anything that makes Japan look incompetent, you know. And I mean, 10, 12 days without recovering that poor guy out of the hole, and then who knows what happened. They just gave up. They stopped reporting it. They didn't want to talk about it anymore because it made people feel bad. Same reason when the train's delayed, they don't tell you it's a suicide. They don't report that in the media. They don't talk about it because it makes people feel bad. They just say it was an accident. So the sort of the point of this story is the two things. One was to address that sinkhole thing, because that's what triggered this. Was I watched that happen, and it was reported at first when he was in the hole, and I kept watching the news reports to see what happened to him and if they found him yet, and then they just stopped reporting it. And then in the meantime, I keep getting this myth. This myth keeps coming up because the problem is on YouTube and on Facebook and other social media, I post Japanese stuff, right, about Japan with all those key words, which means when I watch social media or YouTube, all this Japan stuff comes up. And so that one keeps coming up, that the myth story about how in Japan they fix roads within 3 days, right? Here's this sinkhole and they fixed it within 3 days. And that's still coming up. That's like a 3-year-old story. But this week, it was still coming up on Facebook. And the fact that I know that guy was down that hole for a couple of weeks and that they never found him just left a bad taste in my mouth, because it's like they're peddling that myth at the same time that, you know, there's that really sad story. So it's just something frustrating about the myths, and that taking a rare or exceptional or special, unique event and reporting it like it's mainstream, like everybody does it. All those examples I gave you, the moving the tree one is a classic. If they build a road in Japan, if there's a tree in the way, they dig the tree up and relocate it to somewhere else. Like, that's what they always do. You know, that sort of stuff is just, the people that write it have to know it's BS. You know, or at least just don't take the effort to check if it's true, you know, because they don't care. They just want clicks. So whether it's a news organisation or just some guy with his Facebook page, they just want clicks, don't they? They don't care about reality. Because reality is not popular. These videos, our least popular videos, no one likes these. Actually, some people do. There are some people who appreciate these videos because they want to know the truth. But the majority don't want to know about it. Lots of thumbs down, lots of angry people don't want to hear it. They want to think all that stuff's true. A lot of people want to believe all that nonsense, you know? Which is all well and good, but the thing with that sinkhole was just a little bit too close to the bone. It was like, no, you can't be peddling BS like that when you've got the reality is the opposite, you know? Anyway, not a feel-good video. I understand. I understand it's not a feel-good video. Sorry about that. But we make videos about anything and everything about Japan, anything and everything, and we try to keep it as real as possible. So if we know something's BS and it's being reported like it's real, we're going to tell you. So that's the way it is. More videos coming soon.